Good morning, everyone. Nice to see some people face to face and some people on a Zoom. So I'm Zuzi Sochova and I'm from Prague, Czech Republic. And I would like to thank organizers for inviting me, but also for sending me this very nice t-shirt. You see, is this frog? So it's not that visible on my screen right now, but still wearing it. And this talk should be about how to become an agile leader and how to leverage the power of influence. So a little more about myself. So I'm a certified Scrum trainer. I wrote 2 books. The one on the right-hand side has been translated to Japanese already. It's called The Great Scrum Master. And it's a practical guide for all who want to improve their teams and organizations. And the other one on the other side, it's called Agile Leader. It's currently being translated, but it's not translated yet. So if you wait, it's be in Japanese very soon, hopefully. Now, I want to start with a story, how I started, because this talk can bring you some inspiration that you can do it. You can start as well. So one summer afternoon in 2010, I was given 3 departments of developers, testers, and hardware guys. And I was asked to form a new single department of engineering out of them, the department with high collaboration, flexibility, and also ability to build cross-functional teams across those domains. And I was also asked to come up with my own structure of how I want to run this department. Of course, everybody was expecting the very traditional structure, but I went home, sit at my garden and think about it. The first feeling was like, wow, I can finally change everything. And then it got back to me. The image of 100 people coming to me every day with questions, requests, approvals. Can you tell me what to do? Can you decide? Can you approve my vacation? It was overwhelming. I felt tired even before I started. So I was close to give up. I was close to think about, let's do it the traditional way. Why do I always have to fight the system? Just come up with some hierarchy, some managers like everybody else. But the next day brought a new energy, a new light. And I got finally a courage to present later that week a very different structure based on self-organizing teams with only Scrum Masters and no managers. Now, our chairman was a very traditional manager, I would say, older guy. He was not up for any big experiment, but for some very weird reason, he said yes. And when I thought about it at the end, I think it was because when they asked me, like, how do you want to structure the department? I started explaining and they said, so you want to make it agile, huh? Like, yes, because it helps us to be more flexible. It helps us to faster our learning. It helps us to be more innovative and creative. That's what we wanted to achieve. So they said yes, because I didn't actually tell them we want to be agile. I'll tell them we want to achieve some strategic reasons. So one of my first learnings here would be agile is not your goal. It's just a best way, hopefully, how to achieve some of your goals, but not a goal by itself. No one company needs to become agile as a primary thing. They need to decrease time to market. They need to get flexibility. They need to have higher quality, happier customers, deliver more value, but not being agile. So think about it. I have a first sort of query. If you go to menti.com, and by the way, for those of you who are on the Zoom, I will also post you a shortcut link. Chat here. And once you go there, and it's still on the top of your page, which I'm present. Now on the top you see, you can go to menti.com and use the code for, and you can use Japanese language, by the way. It doesn't have to be English. 46084015. What are your goals at your company? Why will you change the way you work? And by the way, if you repeat the exact phrase, which somebody else wrote already, somebody wrote the code, then it will become bigger. So if more people are voting for Kenji, for example, whatever is that, it will become bigger. And I keep it here for a while, change the customers quickly. The Japanese expression you have to read for yourself, so I'm not going to pretend I can do that. Valuable products. Happy. Better experience. Quality experience. Happiness. Customer success. I'll keep it here for a little longer. Kenji in the middle, it seems to be winning. And happiness and customer success. All right, let's move on. You can still, vote for that. I will show you the screen at the end. Now we go back to our presentation. Oh, let me go back. I thought, okay, so we go back. So how it all starts. It all starts with a traditional organization. That's my artistic picture of an org chart. The hierarchical nodes with the managers and their departments and managers and their departments. I guess you know that. Now, when you start changing the organization, you create those yellow dots of a change and start doing things differently. And sometimes it's not even structured. You don't even apply any framework or any method. You just start dealing with people as a team instead of a group of individuals. So there is a team spirit coming in. There is a self-organization somewhere else. But you might also, use extreme programming, Scrum, Kanban, on various different places and experiment. Those dots are like experimenting things. Let's try something different. Let's learn from it. Let's get a feedback. Let's inspect and adapt. And the more they actually try, the more yellow dots creates and the more it changes the entire organization. It's like a washing machine where those traditional places, which are still technically on a paper, the organization doesn't change yet, but actually the behavior of a people, the values changes a lot, the culture, the mindset, right? And then those two things are like disconnected from each other, and that's a very ugly stage. No one likes it. It's frustrating. People are complaining. It's difficult. And then if you sustain and if you stay a little longer, well, you hear before that, you hear a lot of questions like, who is responsible? So the chairman of a board, that older guy, was coming to my office all the time with this question like, who is responsible, by the way, for this? I was like saying, okay, well, we've been there already. So The team is responsible. He's like, no. The team can't be responsible. It's like, okay, well, then at the end of the day, I am the only manager. So I guess I'm responsible. Or you're responsible at the end, but I didn't want to say that. And he's like, no, you can't be responsible for everything. So we have this never-ending conversation about this clash between like it's co-created, co-owned. We have those self-managing teams. They take responsibility, ownership, they make their own decisions. But he was still coming with this org chart in his mind, like it doesn't exist in reality anymore. I mean, on a paper, it was still there, but in reality, it was not. And if you sustain and go a little longer, those yellow and black dots, they just click like this into one, like that. And you create some collaborative, creative, and adaptive network where people just create alignment. They understand what's going on. They sort of embrace it. And you have this agile organization. Now, I spend a lot of time explaining like what is this organization about. I mean, creative, collaborative, and adaptive network. That's a good definition. But people have a hard time to imagine like what does that mean? So I was looking for different metaphors people are using. So I started with a living organism because people are saying like, but how those teams know what to do if there is no centralized directions, right? It's like, well, this whole network has one weak spot because if you don't have a clear purpose, the clear evolutionary purpose they co-create and co-own and they all believe in, it will fall apart. But it's like a living organism, right? You have your one hand, which has autonomy. You can wave with it on that side. You have the other hand. You can also wave with it on that side even. But those two, they can't go too far away. I mean, it's connected, right? So there is no way you will just have them completely independent and going skiing with one hand and swimming with the other one. It just doesn't work. And also it's adaptive. So if you do something not that good, I would even say stupid, well, you learn very fast. So for example, it's quite cold out there where I live. And if I walk outside just in a t-shirt, I automatically immediately realized it's too cold. So I turn around and go back and take a sweater, maybe a jacket, a cap, gloves, and continue my journey. Now, sometimes you might have a decision like saying, yeah, it's not that cold. I walk fast or I'll be running. Possible, right? And sometimes that's a good experiment. You become stronger by doing that. And sometimes you actually become weaker. You become ill, eventually die, right? But we try to do small experiments. So we actually inspect and adapt and figure out the things, but we are still connected by the social connectiveness, by those relationships. So that's one metaphor you can see from adaptiveness perspective and also this interconnectedness perspective. Another metaphor how we can look at agile organization is actually if you imagine a flotilla of a small boat. The traditional organization is more like a big tanker boat, this big ship, which has a captain on the top who gives you orders, and all the others are just following the orders on a structured line, right? That ship is very fast and actually really good. It can sustain big waves and storms. However, if you want to change a course quickly, it's impossible. So those traditional organizations were optimized for stability. You discover a problem, you analyze it, you sort of say, this is how our organization needs to react to this type of problems. And then you just optimize it and go for a speed. But the problem with nowadays world is that those ships need to change the course and the direction so fast that you can't even finish your optimization. Once you start thinking, oh, I think we should do it this, then something happened. You say, oh, we're back. Maybe this. So very often, flexibility is the key. Change responsiveness. So Agile organization is different structure, like a flotilla of small boats. Now, of course, you can say, what? That's the problem. How those teams, how those boats know where to go? Well, that's like I've been in a scout camp every summer, right? And we have those games. Remember, like steal a flag from the other camp, right? Imagine you go to that island trying to steal the flag. Each boat of your team is sort of independent, so they make their own autonomous decisions. They try to win across the other teams, right? But they also collaborate. So when the one boat failed and they say, hey, you can't go around that because there are big rocks, or you can't go around that because they will see you. They have a big tower there. So they support each other, but they have a one goal all together, which they all believe in, they all buy in. So steal the flag in this case, right? Be the winners together, help each other. Now, the downside, as I said before, of Agile organization is if you don't have that purpose, if you don't have that common goal. Then what happened with this very weak structure is they look around and say, hey, let's go fishing. And the other boat will say, hey, I want to go swimming. Let's go swimming on that beach. And the other one say, yeah, let's just go sailing. And they go to various different locations and they all believe they're creating value. But actually together it doesn't work. It's a different value each time and it doesn't have anything to do with each other. So with building those structures, they are very good at flexibility, very good at change responsiveness. They are very creative, adaptive, collaborative. But actually you have to give them that very strong purpose, because if they don't, they fall apart. And here's my second tip. Leaders need to change first. The organization will follow. So when I say leaders, disclaimer, when I say leaders, I mean you, every single one of you. You are a leader. You can make any change you want. I mean, it will take a time, but you are a leader, and the only enemy, only one stopping you is your own mind. Am I good enough? Do I care enough? But yes, you can do it. And once you start behaving differently, once you start doing things differently, the organization will follow because it works. So I had this story before I took over those departments. I've been a Scrum Master. During all those years, I was acting as Scrum Master. I was having a position which says senior software developer or something like that, with KPIs of I should improve my C++ development skills. I didn't touch a code for all those years. I didn't fight it because it was not important. What I fight was the mindset. Are we able to work differently? Are we able to work as a team instead of a group of individuals? But I have a vision. I thought if we work this way, it's going to be more flexible and therefore better for our business, better for our customers. And actually it was. So no one ever challenged it. People often say, I can't do it because my manager will never approve being a Scrum Master. Well, I don't think they approve it either. I just started doing it because it worked. No one ever challenged that. We were generating twice as much profit with our teams than the rest of the organization were doing on a normal way. So no one ever touched it. They were saying, she's crazy. Yeah, oh, they do that Scrum. No one likes it. But actually they did like it on a way. So don't be afraid. It's on you. You can do it. And I have my second query. You can keep the same link. That's the same. By the way, this is the final picture. And I'm opening the next question. What is the most important for leaders to change on their Agile journey? And again, I'm not asking about the managers, I'm asking about everybody here being a leader. What is the most important for leaders to change on your Agile journey, for you to change on your Agile journey? Same link, same code, listen. And that's a good one. Passion, bored. Courage, yeah. Very often the courage is the one thing important. Empathy, routine, vision, strong mentality, action, consistency. That's one of my favorites. If you want something, you need to be consistent. Balance. Appreciate feedback. Yes, otherwise you can learn. Fear of failure. Agility. Keep discipline. Cooperation. Awareness. Acceptance. Courage, vision, action, acceptance are winning, and I'll keep it going if you have a few more expressions. Now, we go back. The biggest question now is like how? Okay, we got it. Flotilla of small boats, living organism, collaborative network. But how? How can I do that? How can we create it? So in my mind, that's all about culture. I have this metaphor of culture because culture is intangible. It's hard to explain. So I came up with another metaphor, which was like, if you imagine the sea creature, this clam, right? Like this living organism, they have two halves, right? And going closer and far away and closer and far away. If you put it aside, it breaks. It doesn't exist anymore. You kill it, right? So culture is connected with those two halves, like that clam. And it has two halves called mindset and structure. Starting with structure at the bottom. That's what people often talk about, like what is our decision-making policy and what is our strategy and power and tactics? And what is the structure of this organization? Very important things. Do we have the roles defined? Positions, career path, rewards, how we pay people? What are the benefits? What are the rules and policies and processes and guidance? And what do we measure? So all those things will give you some sort of a playground, some sort of a space where to operate, right? If you make it too close, well, all the allows you to something emerge. If you make it wider, more can emerge from it. But it's still like in many organizations or in most, those two will give you enough flexibility to start changing the mindset without really touching the structure yet. Eventually, you will change it. But we didn't start with it. We actually started with working on a mindset. And that was a behavior. How do people behave? Are they self-organizing? Are they willing to take ownership and responsibility? But also, do we have this organizational purpose, this star on horizon we want to all touch? What are our values, the beliefs, identity? Do we have one goal together or conflicting goals? And eventually, do we trust each other? Is there safety in the space, openness? People are willing to collaborate or not? So those two halves, right? And really my experience is that very often people start changing the structure, the metrics, the implementing frameworks. That's not really the most important part. What we really need to change is our value system, identity, beliefs, behavior. And then actually, eventually what happened to us, we built organization based on self-organizing teams. So we actually make all the managers redundant because they were not doing much. What to do was designed by product owners and the teams in collaboration. How to work was co-created by, again, the Scrum Masters and the teams in collaboration. So why do you need a manager to approve the vacation? Like from a legal perspective, that could be delegated to the team and the manager will just mark it somewhere in the system. Not a big deal, right? So mindset first, structure will follow. There are very few organizations where you have to go from the other way around. So I remember I was in some where we actually had to start with HR and change the position description because the people are saying, hey, I'm not going to do that because my position description is saying business and that, and I'm not going to do what you're saying. But that's very rare. Usually that structure will give you a space to start moving, and then it's like a ping pong. One and another, and one and another. Like that kind of living organism, living change. One of those things which are critical for leaders if you want to build agile organization is get that system point of view. Again, metaphor for that. So you have ability to imagine what I'm speaking about. Is imagine you're standing on that big observation tower and see everything from the top. There are 3 rules. Listen to the voice of a system because there is always something happening in that organization. Frustration, happiness, productive environment, frustration, something not working, issues, but also good things, right? Like flow between things. So that's all the voice of a system. The organization is trying to tell you something. Now, the second rule would be who knows what is right and what is not. I mean, what is good for one might not be good for the other and vice versa. And what is good for short term might actually not be good at long term. So who knows? And then eventually that positivity aspect that everyone is right, but only partially. And that's very difficult for people at first because we've been raised to say this is right and this is wrong. And I mean, in some places like mathematics, yes, this is right and this is wrong. But in people behavior, in a system dynamics, there is nothing like right and wrong even exist. From this perspective, this is okay, and from that is not. So what is a 2% of truth everybody has? If you can look at the world, what is happening in a relationship system that way, that's a first step. How to actually become an agile leader. So competencies, right? When I start with the top section, vision, motivation, feedback. One of the critical things, you must have a vision. I sometimes call it a dream. You must have a dream. What do I want to achieve? And when I was sitting on that garden, I got a dream of self-organizing organization with no managers, where people will take the ownership and responsibility and coming up with creative, innovative solutions and inspect and adapt on the way, as we did in our few Scrum teams. Why not to use it to the entire organization, to actually raise their motivation? It was not simple, but it actually worked. They took over and they actually became much more motivated, much more creative, and we actually became feedback responsive. We were looking for that feedback. And it was visible on some hard measures, like every year we got a review with our customers, where we actually ask them compare us with the competitors, like you're using different companies. So can you give us a comparison? And it was becoming better, significantly better from that feedback, right? Now, the feedback here is more about feedback on you as a leader. So sometimes people say, can you give feedback to the other people? Well, that's very important. Give feedback. Can you do it in a way so they accept it? Can you do it in a way so they are able to learn from it, so it's actionable? But also, there is one more part which is even more important. Can you yourself learn from a feedback? So now think about it. How many times you learn from a feedback you receive from your colleagues or from your employees if you're a manager? And how many times do you say, oh, they don't understand, I know better, and sort of reject it, right? So learning from feedback. Then on those two sides, you have decide and collaborate. That's something you do. You either decide or you actually decide to collaborate. And don't make a decision. On the other side, that's a coaching and facilitation. So two soft skills, which are actually lacking in many organizations. So facilitation is critical for enhancing a collaboration, making it work in a very smooth, efficient way. Coaching is for raising people awareness, so they actually can reflect better, walking with this virtual mirror. So all very important. How good are you at those? And where do you need to improve your skills? And finally, a change. So the change has like three segments. The first one is change through changing myself, being a role model. To me, that's the most difficult one because you need to break your own habits. You need to do things differently. So when I wanted to have this, self-organizing teams as a key entity, and I keep talking about my dream and my vision, then I also need to be consistent and I need to live it. And sometimes I didn't. Sometimes there was an issue coming from a customer, and then I just say, yeah, you guys need to handle it. And they were actually, I just got this feeling they're too slow, and I step in and make a decision instead of giving them a chance. I was lucky enough that we have open environment, so they actually went to me and gave me that feedback. You were asking us to make a decision, but it didn't even give us a chance. I said, oh, I'm sorry. And I went back to that environment, to that team or a group of teams, and I said, I'm sorry. I got this feedback. Thank you for it. And yeah, I'm on that journey together with you. And I'm sorry I make a mistake the same way as you do. Next time, I'll try to stop myself and give you that chance. And that was actually working really well. I think if there was one reason why I was successful with my crazy idea, it was this consistency, this ability to hear the feedback and also act on it and say, okay, I'm on that journey and I'm trying to change my behavior as well. Help me. Then the second segment in the middle, changing through changing the other people, like implementing framework or changing the processes. That's what we usually believe change is about. And then the last one, system. How can you change the people behavior, their values? How can you help them to let it emerge and be different? Because you can't just tell them, do it this way, right? They want. You need to become a catalyst leader to create an environment where they can actually live that different world. So all over, what you might want to do, maybe a little later after this talk, is to sit down and think about what are my strengths as a leader, as an individual, right? Am I good at vision? Am I good at feedback? Am I good at coaching? And also, what are my weak spots? There is always something a little weaker than something else. So do it for yourself and think about it. Make a few notes. That's how we actually improve. That's how we do things differently. Now, time is running up. So I have like 2 books here, except my books, of course, but 2 books here, which I recommend you to read. This one, Tribal Leadership, speaks about mindset. So it says that every organization has some major mindset and how do people behave, right? Now we have this life sucks, where there is like people are desperate, there is no life. We have this my life sucks mindset. We're saying like, oh, the other people are successful, just I'm not, I'm struggling. I'll never be successful here. I am great and you're not. That's actually a typical manager in traditional world. I am great, I'm a manager and you're not because you're just an employee. That's a typical structure where actually those managers like heroes and then the employees are like sitting in my life sucks mindset. Now, the nicer version of it, it's not like step by step, right? It's actually progression. So the nicer version of this same I'm great, you're not is actually those organizations which are like invest into learning of employees and growing them. And they actually say everybody is great at something. So I'm great at drawing pictures and you're not as good, but actually you're good at something else. So you're great at Java 5.0 and that person is great at picking at chairs for this company. Now with Agile, we actually switch into we are great, where people are able to maybe forget on themselves and say, I'm ready to give away and build a team. We are great, team together. And finally, the last one, very rare, by the way, says life is great, where you don't even have competitors. Now, why this is important? Because again, it's good to know where are we as my organization and where I want us to be. So what I realized, we were in I'm great, the nicer version of it. Everybody felt you're an expert on something. So we were actually ready to shift to we are great, let it go and build the teams. If I have an organization which say my life sucks and I'm not anything, well then it would be impossible to implement, for example, Scrum and this flat organization, right? So read that book is my recommendation and think about where are you and where you need to be. The second book is coming around the leadership style. Turn the Ship Around is a nice story of a US Navy captain on a submarine. Simple version of it. There are two types of leadership, leader, follower. That's a big tanker boat with a captain on the top and all the people following. The second one, leader, where you actually have people who are willing to take over the ownership and responsibility and say, okay, I intend to do this. And even if you have the formal structure, as those guys get on a submarine, they can still say, yes, do it. But they actually come up with idea and the person on top just approves it and says, yes. So the question around here is like, how can you help people around you to become leaders and support this we culture? How can you create teams? Because at the end of the day, your job in Agile organization as a leader is to help others to become leaders and create as well-functioning teams. So my last query on menti.com, same link, same everything. By the way, this is the latest picture of what we created before. How can you create great teams at your organization? What needs to happen? Collaborate, yeah. That's sometimes hard, where people work just as individuals. They never work together. That could be tough. Empowerment, know each other, speak. Continuous discussion, trust, change, safety, respect. Many things. Collaboration is the winner. I'll keep you writing. I'll show you that picture a little later. But for now, I want to finish that presentation on time. So 3 tips, a summary. Agile is not your goal. It's just the best way how to achieve some of your goals, but not a goal by itself. Leaders need to change first. Leaders means you need to change first. The organization will follow if you just start doing things differently. And finally, help others to become leaders and support this we culture, collaborate with people. If you like it, we have Couple classes planned, translated back to Japanese language, right? So there is an advanced Scrum Master, but there is a prerequisite to have a CSM already, Certified Scrum Master. There is an advanced Product Owner class. Again, prerequisite would be to have already the CSPO, this Product Owner class, and some experience. CAL is a certified agile leadership. So when we've been talking about those concepts like on a very high level, we go much deeper in those topics. So you have a sense of what's going on. E plus O stands for essentials and organization. So how do we change the organization, the culture, the mindset, and how do I change myself as a leader? And finally, again, the advanced CSM. So that's our plan. I would love to see you there. If you want to connect with me, there is a LinkedIn profile. Feel free to do that, and some links to my books and blogs, etc. Otherwise, thank you very much. I promise to show you that slide once more. So that's the final version of it. And with that, I stop sharing. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We still have like 4 minutes.
If anyone have a question in online person, please mic on and talk about your question. No one. No one. Zuzi, thank you for presentation. Please.
Thank you very much. And enjoy the rest of the conference. It was my pleasure to be here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.